people who work in hotels, what was the strangest thing you found in someone's room? Worked at a local cheap hotel chain in town as housekeeping, shadowing the boss in my late teens. We were told all the previous night's guests were gone and went about changing the rooms. The second to last one still had the do not disturb still on the door. Didn't think anything of it. People are in a rush leaving, okay, that fine. Do the obligatory knock as we're told, no answer, so we just head in to clean and we find the man that checked in days before sadly hanging in the room. Still think of him years later, and after that we were told to place Bibles in the bedside drawers of guests. Only being a teen I didn't realize this was unfortunately common in places like that. I've worked for a major chain and I can tell you when this happens, or a death in a room in general. If the hotel is large enough that a room becomes storage for a time, depends on season, traffic events etc., and is removed from inventory and can become an extended closet of sorts for extra linen, furniture or whatever for the floor. Makes it easier at times to store and transport rollaways. Not saying a death in a room is good, just what happens. Strangest? Redacted toys and redacted paraphernalia were pretty typical. Redacted and glass pipes were the most common, but the funniest one for me was finding a love harness still attached to the corners of the bed, and having to explain to the poor, naive front desk worker what it was. Made even more hilarious when she asked why anyone would ever want to do that. The weirdest setup that I personally found was in a room that demanded to have 2 mini fridges brought to their room. I brought both of them up to the room, and found a wall-to-wall buffet of vegan, organic, gluten-free snacks. Hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in snacks, neatly laid out. No meals or substantial food, just tons of munchy devices. And they wanted 2 fridges to store their leftovers in. They were subsisting on their snacks, and storing the food that they'd buy at the hotel or restaurant. A suicide attempt. Had a worried mom call the front desk and ask us if _ is staying at the hotel. We aren't allowed to give away info, but she said that he's got some mental issues and he is a high suicide risk. So he take down her info and call the police. I go to the room and knock on it and can clearly hear someone having a panic attack inside, screaming, crying etc. I decided to open the room before the cops showed up and found the room almost literally covered in blood. Imagine a Dexter-type murder scene, and that's what it looked like. The cops got there a minute or so later and were able to subdue the man. He survived. The real fun part was trying to recover the damages afterwards. I'm a catastrophic insurance adjuster and I work the hurricanes and big storms. I'm in a different hotel room every night, and depending where I am, I don't always get to stay in the nicest ones. La Quinta is the cleanest for the money usually. I have to say, I have stayed in thousands of hotel rooms over the years, but I'm still always grossed out by them. You just know that you are sleeping in a bed that many gross people have slept and did lots of gross things in. I did find a big black dildo under a bed once when I was in South Carolina. They didn't even comp my room for that one. I buy sleeping bag liners so I at least have a barrier between me and the sheets, and it helps me sleep better. Besides dead bodies and sex toys, we had this dude Eric stay with us, and he had 14 bottles of Barefoot wine and a Sam's Club size box of frozen sausage biscuits and gravy. He shit all over the room. There was no surface mist, even the ceiling and walls. Then after we kicked him out and charged him, he sat in his truck across from us and we could see him trying to sleep in the cab. Suddenly, while housekeeping was cleaning the room in full hazmat gear, they hear sirens coming. They look over and the cops are surrounding Eric with guns drawn. We crack jokes about him shitting all over their cruiser from the stairs. Turns out what we didn't get to see was him shitting out all the balloons of drugs he had up his butt. Well, here we go. One guy was due to check out. It was past checkout time and the latch was locked. It happens once in a while, and so I take the tool and open the latch. I see beer cans everywhere and then an empty bed. However, on the nightstand there were empty pill bottles. Then I walk to the closet and there he is. A makeshift noose made from the bed scarf, and he kind of just passed out with the noose hanging on the closet rack. It was too late since rigor mortis already set in. Had a Sonic slushie thrown at me. She missed and hit the wall. The reason? She was tricking out of the room and one of the guests she had stole a TV before. I didn't give her a refund. Another girl climbed out of the window from the 3rd floor. I was already up there because of a noise complaint. Her friend opens the door and she's legit climbing out of the window. I go to grab her but only get a hold of her hand. Well, just like the movie, she's hanging from the window by me just holding her. Unlike the movies, it's hard as fuck to try and lift someone up, especially when they aren't trying to climb up. She fell. She had blood coming out of her mouth and she kept trying to move. I told her to stop moving and call 911. Her friends saw her lying there and just dipped. One day a lady came running down the 1st floor hallway. She makes it just far enough so that I can start to see her. Then all of a sudden, I see her head fly backwards. The guy chasing her pulled her hair. By the time I make it to her, the guy is just beating on this girl. Got him calmed down somehow and back to his room. I got the girl into the office and called the cops. Another day I kicked out a lady of the night. She wasn't happy about that, so she grabbed a front desk monitor and took off with it. I grabbed it and we shuffled a bit. Another guest was filming and shouting "World Star." So at the end, I sold the hotel. Literally the next day I was walking around with the new owner. Some guy wouldn't check out and come out of his room. He just locked himself in there. So I call the cops and we get the door open. The cops immediately recognize him. After he gets escorted out of the room, the new owner and I walk into the room. This dude took a knife to everything. I mean, the walls are cut up, the linen, the mattress, the carpet, the furniture, and the curtains. I just look at the new owner and he has this look of WTF did I get into? I was so relieved that it wasn't my problem anymore. So that's a few of the better stories. Here's one from me as well. I was night shift this one time covering a colleague of mine. It's the winter and like 30 degrees outside. I walk around since I'm bored and nothing is happening and go outside of the hotel for a bit. I see a man and a woman in their 20s on the balcony in shirts and they tell me that they can't get back in since they locked themselves on the balcony and that they've been stuck there for like 30 minutes. I go to their room and try to open the door but it's locked. Try using the master key but it doesn't work as well since they got the latch on. So I called the fire department since I wasn't quite sure what to do. 2 fire guys casually just come and go near the door and one of the guys just kicks the door with all his strength and the latch breaks. I'd kinda expected a more civilized way of opening the door but I guess that works. I enter and I see that there is one more person lying on the bed that's just completely wasted. Anyway, I open the balcony door and let them back in and they start throwing a fit how it's unacceptable that this happened but couldn't be bothered to argue now. I said whatever and went back down. They came back early morning and said they wanted the manager and that they had a complaint. Told them that I'm the supervisor and that they will have to deal with me and they start arguing that all of this is our fault and that they wanted compensation. Anyway, that obviously doesn't slide and I just tell them that they're lucky that I'm not charging them about the damage that was done and the fact that the room was overall trashed as well since apparently they were having a drinking party there and trashing the whole room. Anyway, they leave and say that they will leave a bad review and whatnot. I'm still amazed to this day how they were seriously trying to throw a fit and try to get something from it for something that was clearly their fault. I actually had something similar happen to me at the hotel I used to work at, positioned on a major southern highway. I walk into the room and you immediately see it on the desk, a fingernail man, comprised of clipped fingernails and arranged with expert care. My first reaction is horror and disgust, but the fingernail man did no wrong to me. I realized it was nothing more than socially ingrained prejudices and a fear of the other. I instead sat down and poured 2 glasses of scotch. The fingernail man took one and quaffed it, the aromatic liquid sogging his nails as it dripped down and through his body. "Thank you," he said, "for not leaving like the rest." I nodded and sipped, and soon empty glasses gave way to mouths full of conversation and newfound excitement. We chatted of politics and of hangnails, of music and of cuticles. Finally, the fingernail man asked if I planned a happy life for him. This caught me off guard, as I had never before seen him, but he repeated his question once more. "What do you mean?" I asked. He looked distraught, and he fiddled at the nails that comprised his hands. Well, you see, we were always taught that the gods would decide our fates and shape our lives. I realized then that indeed I was God to him. He was birthed of human cuticles, and so how could we be anything but his creator? Before my creation, I, God, wept, for I now saw the paths I could set him upon. I saw a happy toenail wife, and an eager hangnail dog running through fields of green blades of grass. I saw a tragic brush with a clipper that would leave its mark upon him, and I saw the strength that tragedy would lend him in the years that followed. I saw the greatness he would bring to the world, and I knew in my heart of hearts that my creation would soon achieve his greatest purpose. You will thrive, I told him. Your fate unfolds before you like a great tapestry, and soon you shall find its beautiful patterning, and it shall move your heart. The toenail now wept too, and I held him in the dark hotel room, creator and creation both weeping in joy for the sheer beauty that would unfold in the days of future fast approaching. Anyways, the pills wore off about a half hour later, and I remembered I don't work in a hotel. I packed up my toenail clipping kit, left the mess, and went to my car out in the motel parking lot to flee before police could start connecting dots with a stolen vehicle and a public urination streak. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more.